I'm getting faster at setting up the live, which is sweet. And I was chatting and realizing that perhaps I might be tridoshic in Ayurveda. But we're gonna emphasize just for future me what is working and why, and changing and upgrading and just I guess generally improving quality of life as I have. It's There have been so many years where I'm like, why didn't I like do more public content about this? Because, not only do you forget what wretchedness you've been in, but you always sometimes like you always forget some details about what worked. And then you're sitting there and you're repeating stuff, and considering what I eat changing every season works really well. I need to document this. So right now, it's about 2 months since, or maybe no, it's been like a month and a half since we were down in Mexico and we did ayahuasca. And how is that relevant? It's relevant because I had quit all of these other things before I even decided to do ayahuasca, but it really, really helped because it was my second time. And it's a medicine that helps you cleanse, right? And I treat it as very sacred. I have my own spiritual practices, didn't grow up in a particular religion. Sometimes I thank my lucky stars and God, universe, source, spirit, the field for that. And where was I going with that? I got a little sidetracked already. Oh, I'm basically eating only things that are lightly cooked and still alive. And I don't mean like, raw octopus. Like, in fact, I started realizing that my body doesn't like any of the things that don't have scales. And then I was like on AI trying to figure out like what's up with like seafood that doesn't have scales. And, the way that we understand it in Western terms, it's like it has a lot of histamine. Cause I remember coming back from Mexico where we ate a lot of shrimp because I wasn't eating red meat. And I got this like all these brown spots, they're all gone now. They're pretty much all gone. They just look like thousands of freckles that happened like immediately, like an hour-ish after we ate a bunch of mussels when we came back home. Like we ordered like a pound of mussels each and went to town. And that's when I started to realize like there's as much as, I'm not a fan of religion, I am a fan of mysticism, experiencing you know, God or the universe yourself. And I learned through experience. And my experience said that shellfish actually isn't working for you. And I'm like, oh. And then like a lot of like octopus and eel, like they're sort of mind-numbingly good. Good. And what I've learned over the years is that when anything is like, whoa, when you eat it, I'm paying for it later, absolutely paying for it later. Like, it doesn't actually work for me. It's just like just firing every dopamine receptor that it can. And considering that I quit nicotine and THC this time around with like almost no willpower involved, because I had basically done a dopamine detox by quitting social media and sugar and dairy, which binds to opioid receptors in your brain, in case you didn't know that. Dairy doesn't work for me, but when something's addictive and you're stressed out and you're not taking care of yourself, aka earlier this summer when I took on way too many gigs and did not have nearly as much fun as my system needs. Back to food though. So I am eating like in the mornings, I'm making an entire zucchini in olive oil with a little bit of salt, like no other seasonings. Like anytime I added ginger or garlic, it was like I'd get so dry. Like immediately my lips would get like cracky and chapped and my skin would start to not feel awesome. So zucchini for the moisture content, for the bitter content that helps you digest. I recently added like a little handful of arugula to all of my meals because I was like eating soups, which are great, super convenient, also very hydrating, which is why I was drinking it for a while or eating really heavy veggie stews. And I started to realize that when you don't eat anything fresh, your body doesn't have the enzymes and it also doesn't have anything that was recently alive. Like if you cook down a soup for longer than an hour, like most of that, you just killed it, right? Like it's dead. Like a carrot will still grow out of the fridge, if you stick it in water, and a lot of other foods will. But if you stick it in boiling water, it's going to die. It's gonna die. So I'll usually eat like 2 or 3, eggs now sunny side up or over easy because I learned this winter that in Ayurveda, if your pitta, which is the fire element, if that's dominant in you, um, eating like hard scrambled eggs, the yolk actually becomes more heating when it's not liquid. And I was sitting down with myself and going, "Well, why did you start, like, cooking all your eggs all the way through when you love eggs Benedict and you love a runny yolk?" And it's like, "Because I was afraid of parasites." 'Cause I had a period of my life where I was exposed to a bunch of mold, and I also, like, experimented with ivermectin before all that COVID ivermectin stuff happened. And after I took ivermectin, like, I started being able to eat a bunch of vegetables that I fucking, like, somehow developed a dislike for. Like, I'm Korean, we grew up on ginger, garlic. Like, for a while, I couldn't have ginger or garlic. I couldn't have like, celery made me nauseous, a Brazil nut felt like napalm in my mouth. Okay, I don't know what napalm is, it just felt like a bomb went off in my mouth that was noxious. And after ivermectin, like that and avocados, like what I perceive to be foods that maybe, parasites don't like, all started to become delicious again, so it worked for me. I'm not saying go out there and do crazy stuff, I've done a lot of crazy things. I'm the person that experiments, so that honestly, a lot of you don't have to. Um, Because like, you don't have to do all of that to feel well, like, you don't have to add usually any pharmaceutical, like, it's up here a lot of the time, because if you're causing yourself anxiety and, these a lot of these health books and a lot of these health gurus, they just work up more anxiety in you so that you're like, you gotta buy their solution. Um, but like I said in live number 2 earlier today, the shortcut really is, like, figuring out ease and joy and peace and then just going out and enjoying your life. Like, if you enjoy your life enough where you love on yourself and love on someone else, like, you create oxytocin. Oxytocin heals heart damage, y'all. Heart damage healed by was it a neurotransmitter technically? Anyway, going back to what I've been eating, I've been boiling daikon. Now this might be really specific for this winter because I'm like 3 or 4 months off of, smoking spliffs over the end of summer, something I used to hide and feel really ashamed of, but I recently, like, voice memoed someone was like and they were sharing that they felt powerless, and I'm like, I'm just gonna let you know, and you can feel free to not be friends with me or whatever, but I don't subscribe to guilt, shame, or powerlessness. Every time that I've actually healed from something, it's because I let go of those things, and every time I felt sick or got sicker, it's because I was feeling those emotions and, like, feeding them. So, I've been boiling daikon, and it's all pretty quick, like, if I start boiling as soon as I enter the kitchen with, like, a teaspoon of salt, that daikon eats so good, and it adds the fiber. Daikon this is what I brought up smoking for, it clears out your lungs. It totally clears out your lungs, and it's still clearing, which is great, and, sometimes I will put in a little tiny, like, Yukon Gold potato or something for the actual carbs if I need them, if I'm planning an active day. So that's, like, been a really solid breakfast. I've also been drizzling perilla oil, which is the finishing oil of my people, um, on the arugula, which tastes so good with just a little sprinkle of salt. Like, now that I've been eating clean and Aya helped me, I guess, like, feel my bodily intelligence, like, I remember people telling me forever that, like, "Wow, like, you're so perceptive about what's going on in your body." And then over the years, like, I have a great friend, who's been telling me, like, "That's clairsentience, Anna." And I realized there are a lot of, like, really famous, highly effective, amazing people that have all the characteristics of clairsentience, but didn't call it that because, we used to burn witches and shit. Not cool, y'all. Religion, not cool. Not don't do that. Let's stop doing that, okay? There's a lot of wisdom that women had in the form of, like, how to use plants, how to set intentions, and the churches went and absolutely systematically destroyed that that body of not only body of wisdom, but bodies, literal bodies, but the spirit lives on. Back to this lunch. Okay, so I love me Zupas. If I have to eat somewhere out now, I'll go to Zupas, and that's because it's all, like, freshly prepped that day, and the particular Zupas near my location, like, the staff are happy. That matters even more sometimes than the food. Like, not every ingredient is probably organic, but, like, the vibes are good there. And there's one thing that works really well for me, specifically in the winter right now where it's dry and I needed fresh things, and that's the Mediterranean bowl. And that starts with a base of arugula, my favorite green, and wild rice. I don't typically finish the wild rice portion or the rice portion right now. That might be because my body is like still cleansing and it doesn't need any carbs. But also, when you think about it, aside from the time when I was in Bali several years ago, rice and grains are almost never fresh. There's almost no way it can be fresh. Like, even if you hand mill them at home, how long did that grain sit out in the field? And if it didn't sit out that long in the field, it's probably because they sprayed glyphosate on it to dry it out. That's actually how it's used more often. Roundup is used more often to dry out crops than to prevent pesticides. Okay, I don't know if it's more often, but it's often. So anyway, I haven't been finishing the rice portion, but I love freshly cooked cauliflower and the chicken. Like, I've learned that it takes like 2 minutes to open a package of chicken thighs, AKA it has the skin, it has the fat, and that's where the collagen and the calories to sustain, a lighter, fresher diet comes from. It takes like 2 minutes to brine, like, to, like, make the brine and let it sit until lunch, right? And then during lunch, I just take the chicken thigh out, dice it up, and then, chop up some cauliflower, which does take a lot longer to cook than frozen cauliflower, so I did order some more frozen cauliflower. I made this dish in less than 20 minutes the other day, but yesterday when I made it with my wife, we used, fresh cauliflower, and it took a lot longer. It took, like, 45 to 50 minutes to cook the cauliflower, down to the texture I wanted, let's be honest. It could have been done sooner if I were willing to crunch through, but I like it a little soft, and well seasoned with the chicken bits. So, I've been having that, and as you can tell, maybe the chicken is the part that's, like, not super fresh so far because the arugula is still fresh, the cauliflower was living or freshly frozen, um, like suspended animation for vegetables, and what did I add next? Oh, the photo. This is the photo that's supposed to be the thumbnail for this video. But what I've also noticed is that having cucumbers, oh, my favorite thing ever, and that explains why I'm probably more pitta. Um, I've been throwing some microgreens on top because I found a really good deal for those, and, the hummus is probably freshly made at Zupa's, and I like that hummus, but I found that the store-bought hummus, like, I would bite into it, and I'm like, "I don't know." Like, I wouldn't finish it. And that's another thing about, like, it's not living, it's not contributing, like, liveliness to my body, and it's something that, I don't remember if I learned this through Ayurveda or listening to Sadhguru, but if you don't eat food within a certain amount of time, in Ayurveda, it's considered tamas, which is like gunk making, phlegm producing because it's not your body has to work harder because it's already like decaying, it's already probably like having its own bacteria. Um, kind of similar feeling with the olive, not the olive tapenade that I made from scratch, although olives are also aged, right? Um, but there's a olive muffaletta that I used to love, and turns out salt can irritate pitta, as in make us hotter, which doesn't help with the dryness, the like 20% humidity that we have right now. And even the sun-dried tomatoes, even the black rice that we made, it didn't really hit. It didn't really hit. The sunflower seeds are all right, but I seem to really, really vastly prefer raw pine nuts. And maybe again, that's because the roasted means that it was killed and then it was put in a package. I bought the package because I do need like a handful of nuts as a snack in my pocket sometimes because I do sometimes lose track of time enjoying myself outside the house, whether it's, out doing an activity, or in the last case, we were running around the mall on a cold day just to get a little exercise. And we saw some stuff and we stopped, and there goes the time. Um, so there's a time and a place for things that are not like fresh. But for dinners, like I've just been throwing like Pacific whiting, but various kinds of fish, in with like either freshly cut or frozen, like carrots, cauliflower, green beans, just tossing a good healthy portion of finishing like extra virgin olive oil on top. And that's been so good. And last night I realized, this is another note to myself, that maybe I wasn't actually hungry in the evening, but because I had a little bit of that black rice, when you eat something that's a simpler carb, and actually most people wouldn't consider black rice a simple carb, but it's the simplest carb that I was having. Um, the gut bugs that you have, they demand more. They're like, "Oh, you fed us an easy food," and then the easy food loving or easy fuel loving bugs, their population grows a little bit. And then when they grow, they're like tapping on your little vagus nerve, being like, "Hey, we need more of that stuff." So last night I made a blackberry, blueberry, raspberry compote, no sugar, just collagen, marine collagen was added to it, a teeny pinch of salt, water to make it a compote, and then I added coconut cream to make it more cooling. But y'all, I did not sleep well. I did not sleep well. I've got like my skin feels a little rougher this morning, feels drier. My nostrils felt drier. I had like a couple hard bits in my nose, and I was like, no, 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 no. You didn't actually need more calories. Like, you didn't like go and do a bunch of activities outside. You didn't lift. You didn't do cardio hardcore. Like, that was literally just your gut bugs being like, feed me. So, this is a lot longer than a thing I would probably share with a friend who's just trying to cook for me. Um, but this is definitely what I'm gonna need to hear, like, probably next winter. Going into actually fall going into winter would be the best time. Because it's taken me a long time to figure out how to eat for my constitution, because honestly, this, like, need for convenience and this drive to produce, and absolutely like, yeah, like 10, 15 years ago I was a workaholic because I didn't know how to chill. I'd never had that modeled for me. My mom never took a vacation in all the years that I don't think she still has. Like, she just, chills at home now, but she's happier than she's ever been, which is fabulous to see. But yeah, it was always go, 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 and by then you're eating boxed food, and, like, what Sadhguru said ages ago, like, sticks with me. It's like, why is it that the more advanced and more modern a society is, the older our food gets? Why? Why? You don't know how long that box of Triscuits has been sitting there? God knows. So, yeah, I think today's been a good morning of actually expressing myself and getting some notes down for future Anna, and giving less of a damn what people think. All right, ending the stream.